Hello. Okay. So now it's time to talk about my third night of ceremony with ayahuasca. This experience was profound and more emotional, more a bit more painful. Um, the third night was all about the divine feminine. So we had female shamans come in this time, whereas in the second night ceremony, it was just the male shamans. Very, very sweet and gentle male shamans. They are very compassionate, and you can tell they really cared about you. And so the third night was with these female shamans, and they gave me the essence of an owl because they had a lot of owl themes around. They had feathers everywhere because they all have a different theme and they all are different. All the shamans every night is a different energy. Because of their different shamans, and the shamans provide a different healing experience every night depending on which shaman it is. And for the third night of ceremony, it was the divine feminine were in charge that night. So they say that if you're on your menstrual cycle, you can't attend for the third night ceremony because it's so strong. It overpowers the energy itself. Um, I think because the power of the menstrual cycle in a woman is more powerful than can control the ceremony instead of the shamans, because the shamans can't take in control because that would be like a block. So basically, the menstrual cycle is so strong that it affects the shamans doing their work there in the ceremony. So, but luckily I didn't have mine, which is actually something I'm going to discuss on the fourth ceremony night because I do have problems with that. And the fourth ceremony was all about healing. So I healed that, but I'll get to that later. So, third ceremony night. So it definitely gave me the vibe of like an owl theme. The two female shamans uh, made me feel like they were carrying that kind of spirit animal with them, and so it was a very tranquil night. I took the first dose. Um, I kind of wanted to take this opportunity on the third night of ceremony to really discover who I was and why I was so connected to the moon, let's just say, because I've always been connected really strongly with the moon, and I just wanted to know where I came from, or why am I so drawn to it in a such strong sense. And so when I went on the line, because what I forgot to mention is I think they call it rapé. I forgot what it's called, but they blow this tobacco, I think, or smoke, like ashes, into your nose to awaken your third eye. And we've been doing that for all ceremonies before we drink the ayahuasca. So I've been getting used to them putting that inside. It's very strong. It can hurt, but it helps open up the third eye. And so as I went up there to take it, one of the female shamans said, because I think there was actually three female shamans, and the third one told me, because I had one of my friends put like moon designs on my forehead, and she said, "Oh, that's the one of our shamans has that tattoo, the triple goddess symbol." And I said, "Yeah, I've always been connected to that symbol. I've always been drawn to that symbol very strongly." And she's like, "Huh, interesting. Maybe tonight you'll find out why." And I'm just like, "Huh, yes, please show me." That's why I'm like dying to, like, I was really excited for this third ceremony because I did want to discover that part of myself. And so it's funny that she said that, they know everything, they know what's happening, and they can sense what's happening to you. I'm telling you, it's a very magical place. So, yeah, and then after that, we lined up for the ayahuasca. So I drank the first dose of the third night. Pretty excited, very excited because it's the divine feminine, and I'm very connected with the divine feminine. And I'm still trying to figure out why I'm connected to the moon and why I'm, part of this divine feminine energy as well. And so I take it, and I lay down. And tonight was about heal my heart, because the first one was show me who I've become. Second night is uh, merge me back with my soul at all costs, which I got. And then the third night, the divine feminine night, was heal my heart. And that's why it became very painful at the end of the ceremony, but it wasn't like that at first. So I took the first dose, and I laid down, because you're supposed to lay down, and laying down helps to bring up the visuals. So you sit down and you close your eyes. And because I was so excited to just know everything, I can feel Mother Ayahuasca activating right away, like starting to freeze my head right away. But that scared me. I'm like, no, stop. Because that's kind of scary, because it takes over your body, so you're not ready for that. But because I was so excited, I felt like she's like, okay, let's get into business straight right away. But then I panicked, so she stopped, and she's like, okay, you know what? Let's take it gentle, because my ego still gets very frightened. And so she took it gentle, and the shaman started to play very calm music. It started off very calm and slow, like the night sky. So it gave me the impression that we were in the night, and seeing all the sparkling stars, and it was beautiful. And because of the owl, the energy of 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 the spirit animal of the owl was really strong in this ceremony. So it made me feel like it was a time of deep quietness, reflecting everything around us and internally, and kind of being still in the silence, and just really embodying that essence. And so it started off very gently, and I could keep seeing the moon at a distance, very far at a distance, but my visualizations were not as strong. I think because I was just so frightened right away, because she started right away working on me, and I'm just like, wait, no, hold on. And so she took it slowly after that. And then I let myself go, and then that's when she's like, okay, let's do this. And then she started to really merge with my body and started to take effect. And I learned to surrender, and I learned to let her take me, and you know embody my body, and control the situation. And it was so beautiful. I felt so expansive, as if, oh, before I talk about that, I felt like a warm energy passing through my body, through my stomach. I kind of hurt. I was like, oh, ouch. I think I have a wound there, because she's checking my wounds. And then she goes through my heart, and there, oh, I can feel it, very tender, very tender. She was there, and I saw this visualization of this nice warm orange yellow color, gentle and very orangey and yellow, right here in front of me, close to my heart. And it was emanating here, and this feeling like of an angelic being. So it felt like it was an angelic being watching over my heart, or just putting her hand here and observing what it was. And it was just emanating with this orange color, and she was just floating, and I can just see this color, and how she was observing my heart. And then I could see an image of like the beyond, like the angelic realm twirling, and you see a light coming from the center, and it was very orangey and yellowish. And yeah, it was, for a while it felt like the angelic realm was near me, and was observing and checking out my heart. And it felt very warm, very comforting. I didn't want her to leave. So she was there for quite a while. I think angelic being was there for quite a while. And then after that, I just started to transcend. It's funny because on the first night, I saw a dead fly on the bed, which represented what was going to happen to me, ego death. The second night, I saw a fly in my bed again, but it had wings on, and it was alive and it was functioning, but it had wings on, but it wasn't flying. It didn't want to fly. So that kind of made me feel like I didn't want to fly that night, because of overcoming the fear with the spider. The third night, I just kept seeing, not dragonflies everywhere. I don't know what it was, but in the room, it was just flying up. And it was circling the light. And I kept staring at it, and it was flying it was very close to the light. Very close to the light. So I'm like, is that going to be what's going to be on my third night, the third trip? So I wondered how that would be like. Maybe I'll fly. Maybe I'll, spread my wings and fly. But it was more than that. I felt like after the angelic being was checking out my heart, I started to feel a little bit more enlightened. Like I felt like an enlightened being again, like that feeling of the Buddha again came back. And I felt like there was just this glow in my third eye. I kept feeling like a pressure in my third eye. And I just felt like I was in the angelic realm, like I was part of the angelic realm. I just felt my heart open up and have compassion. And while I was having a nice experience, the people beside me were not. I could feel them crying. The girl beside me was crying with so much pain. And I think she was releasing her pain. And I felt like giving her warm energy because I was in such a high level of like angelic essence was inside of me. And I felt so enlightened that I felt like I was this compassionate being, and I really wanted to emanate love towards her. So I was putting my hand towards her, and I was just emanating love, and I just felt so compassionate, and my heart just opened, and I felt like this divine light and essence was inside of me, and it was very angelic. It was very divine, and so it was a nice experience. That's that part of it. While everybody around me was kind of suffering, which is funny because I think we take turns. Because then after that, I suffered and they were calm, like me. But before that, after that experience, that angelic experience, and feeling like I was in a sense like Buddha again, or just feeling very divine and enlightened. That's when we went to the next level, where the ayahuasca kind of took over all parts of my body to the point where I couldn't feel any part of my body anymore. The only thing I can sense was my nose. Everything else was gone, but my nose was still present. So it kept me kind of sane again, like last time. But this time, I was floating upwards so beyond. I was elevating. I think this is what it meant to fly. And then suddenly, I just take an inhale, and then as I exhale, my whole body just dissolves. And I just expanded along with the music. I just expanded. And I can see planets. Like I was like in a dimension. As I was floating up, I was taking an inhale, and I can see something opening up, and I could see planets and stars. And then I exhale, I just like expanded with the planets. I just let myself go, and I just like dissolved like that. That's was the most impacting memory that I could remember in the ayahuasca trip, was expanding with the universe, in the cosmos. I just like kind of let go of my human shell for a bit, still keeping myself sane with my nose, and just inhaling, and then I could see something open up in the center, like seeing space. And as it opens up, you see space. I exhaled, and the planets also exhaled with me, with the cosmos, if you think about it. And then I just lost myself, and then I just became something much more higher, and I think that's what it meant flying. I think that's where I went above, really high up. My body dissolved and expanded through the universe. Not entirely, but in a small portion of it, I felt it. And so that was very beautiful. I think that's when the level of my frequency elevated very high. My frequency started to shift really, really high, and you can feel it, and you can feel, you know, the buzzing and everything. It was way, way too elevated that it was starting to make me sick, because my frequency raised up way too high, because I went beyond, right? And then after that beautiful experience, I went back into that state of the angelic realm. I think there was more visualizations. I don't quite remember anymore, but those were the ones that really impacted me. And you know, it goes along with what the song, what song they're playing, and that's what I felt. And so that was very beautiful. But I didn't get still the vision of who I was. And so after that first dose, it ended, the visualizations ended, and my trip ended, being part of, you know, everything else in the cosmos, and connecting with the angelic realm, because I kept seeing the angelic realm, but not fully 100%. But I know the angelic realm was there, and they were so close to me, feeling my heart. So that experience was over, and it was a good experience, a gentle experience, a beautiful experience. But I still needed to know more. I wanted to know who I was, because the shaman said she would show me. She said that the answer would be there. So I went up excited to take the second dose of ayahuasca. Oh my goodness, silly me. So I went to take the second dose, and went back, and uh, the experience was necessary, but it wasn't easy, because this trip was different this time. I was still in that high state. I could feel them. I can feel her healing my heart and everything. But then everything came to the surface of things that were very painful. And I will mention what it is, because it's personal. But it's very profound and strong. And it's very heavy. And it's a realization of things, of something. And it came up, and I could feel what she was saying. I can feel your intuition is strong when you go through this, because you're communicating with her, but you know exactly what's coming up and what you have to confront. And so that came up, and then I got up, and I was shocked, and I was in deep denial, and then I just started crying, because I knew that she was telling me to go purge that out. And I would look at my bucket, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to. And it'd be so intense. I was in such a state of resistance, of going towards the bucket to purge that out, that it was so overwhelming. But, and I was like, no, no. But I had to, or else it gets worse. You feel the pain inside of you. And so I crawled towards it, and I could not throw it up. I could not. I was being stubborn. I was just looking at it, and I was just being stubborn. And I approached it. And after a while of like denial of doing it, I actually did it, and purged out what she was telling me to purge out. And I purged it out. I purged and purged and purged. So much, to the point that I could not purge anymore, that it was just air. And it was so overwhelming, and my stomach was so sick, that I couldn't handle purging anymore. I could not leave the bucket. I could not leave the bucket. It was the most painful experience I've ever gone through. I started crying, and it was the most overwhelming experience ever. I couldn't stop. I don't know how to. I couldn't eliminate the sickness. I'm like, I'm purging. What's happening? What's happening? I keep trying to purge, but I keep feeling so ill in my stomach, and I try to purge more and more, but air just comes out. And then once in a while, like it helps a bit. Uh, I think by laying down again, it activates it again, and then okay, I'm ready, and then blah, I just throw out a lot. But it was so hard to stop that sickness in my stomach, and I just kept purging, and I was just so I was drowning in my own emotions. So the shaman, one of the female shamans, saw me drowning in my own emotion, basically. So she because I couldn't stop purging it, and I wanted to, but I couldn't. And I was just like, I was just so lost and engulfed in that pain. And she approached me. She said, sit up. And so I sat up. She got close to me. Everything was like in slow motion. I was like, whoa, everything is like slow with my pain and everything. And I see her approach me in slow motion. And then she bends down and she smokes something. And then she goes towards me. She goes, and then I just see all the smoke pass through my whole body. She's like, and then the smell was so strong I couldn't handle it, but it went through all my body. And then she did it everywhere, and then she did it one more time. I was kind of scared of her. I was like fearful, because this was the night of Halloween too. This was on October 31st, on that night. So everything kind of a little bit gave me a witchy vibe. So she kind of gave me like the vibe of a witch, but she's a shaman. But every shaman is different in the ceremony. You have these shamans that actually look like shamans and have feather wings and everything. But she was wearing black, and so she was a little bit scary. But she meant well, and she approached me, and I was scared of her. I think I saw like white in her eyes. I don't know, when she approached me, because I was in a trance, and I could feel buzzing things on my cheeks, but I was so gone in my pain and my emotion. I was like, oh, and I was looking at her, and then she just blew it, and then it just engulfed my whole body, the smoke. She did it 2 times, and I was like, oh, and then it was gone. That drowning pain was gone. And she got up like in slow motion, and I'm just like looking at her. Thank you. Thank you. And then I just laid back gently again to my bed. And I would just look at her. I just like, thank you, you angel. You saved me from my own drowning. And she just got up and looked at me, and then she just continued walking. So yeah, it's a lot of fear, and I was especially fearful of her getting close to me. She looked a bit scary while you're in the trance, but she came to save me with the smoke, with her ritual. And so, I was much better. I laid down, and that was profound. That was very that really my heart started to ache even 10 times more now, because of that emotional situation that was happening. And so I laid back, but I had to go back to purge still, because there was other things to resolve, and it had something to do with my job, and something I needed to purge out about that. So I didn't mind doing that. I didn't much have resistance, but I was resisting in some levels, some situation regarding it. So I came and approached it with the bucket. I approached the bucket, but luckily I'm not drowning in my emotion about the other situation, but it was about another situation. And I purged that out. Some part of it was still resisting it, and she was teaching me something. She was saying, yes, but this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I know that's true. And so I'm like, okay. And then I purged it out, and I purged out that situation. She told me something about materialism. Materialism is not important. Money is, but the money and all that stuff. And then she was telling me That wasn't important. And so I went there and I purged it out. So I was, by this point, I'm so exhausted purging everything out and just being in the bucket the whole half of the ceremony that I just laid down beside my bucket, very weak, just trying to get up, but just I had no energy. I was like shaking. I was like, a wounded warrior that's been in battle and has been punched and hit, and she just collapses down, collapse on the floor with the bucket. No energy. Just I'm just done, and I'm just like, like after a battle. But I think it was also my fault because I allowed myself to drown in that emotion, right? So then after that, I felt a warmth coming from somewhere, but I don't know what that was, but it helped me feel better while I was on the floor beside on the opposite end where the bucket was. And then I just gently closed my eyes. And then the music was still playing something more gentle. And then I just felt Mother Earth grab me and heal me. So, because I was like on the floor, right? So it felt like her warm energy on the floor was going upwards towards my body and making me feel much more better. So I felt much better after that as I was in the floor, and it felt very comfortable. I started to crawl like a baby, like that, because I went through some traumatic event. And I was like with her on the floor. Mother Earth was healing me, and I got much more better. Still pretty sick, This thing doesn't really leave you. So I went back on my back and continue, the process. But at this point, I'm just like, okay, that's enough now, Mother Ayahuasca. I don't need any more healing. I'm really beaten down. I just want to relax, and I just don't want the medicine to kick in anymore. Can it stop kicking in? You can go now. So I was like that, very weak though. But I was still getting some trance and some visualizations. But at this point, I was already really beaten down, and so I was just laying down on my back getting visuals and stuff. And then after a while, as I was looking, very being down, looking at the candle on the opposite end, I look above and I see a shadow. When the candle lights an object and that object reflects a shadow on the ceiling. And I look at the ceiling and I see like a shape of an angel, like with her hand like this, like praying. And I look at it and I like weak on my bed, like, ugh. And I look at it up and I just see a shadow of an angel. And then they start playing a music saying that, I was saying, dear child, you are holy now. My dear child, you are light now. It just kept saying, my child, you are holy now, you are holy now. And I was looking at the shadow of the angel until she was talking to me. She was telling me basically, okay, the rough time is over now, my child. You are holy now. You're cleansed now. You are clean now. You're cleansed. I know it was hard, but it needed to be done to raise your frequency. And you needed to go through all this. And I know you're beaten down, but see, and then you're holy now. You're divine now. You're cleansed basically. And I look at it, and I look at the angel as the music was playing, and that felt more like relaxing, and I could relax, and I was just weak looking at it. I'm like, oh, okay. So they told me that. And then after that, I went back on my back and I closed my eyes. And finally, they were playing a music about the moon. So finally, they were going to telling me, they started telling me who I was. So it was such a beautiful song. It kind of reminded me of Sailor Moon because it started saying, Poder, poder de la luna. So it was like from the power of the moon. So the song was basically saying, you carry the power of the moon. You carry the power of the moon. The power of the moon flows through your body. And that's the whole song was the power of the moon flows through your body. And I kept getting visuals of the moon, and I saw the full moon, bright and big. And I saw a crown, a silver crown, and it was just all very magical and sparkly. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what it is. And then I'm like, and then basically the medicine was telling me this power is inside of you. You have this power. You have the power of the moon. The power of the moon flows through your body. The power of the moon flows through my body. And explains my moonstone and everything. It basically flows through my body. The power of the moon flows through my body. And then as they were singing it, I like rose my hand, and you're in a trance, so she kind of still controls your movement. And I just felt like extending my arms forward like this, with my other hand like this, and just like allowing the energy of the moon pass through my hands, through my body, basically. And so as I was saying the song, and I was like, the power of the moon right through my body. El poder de la luna viene dentro de mí. So they kept saying dentro de ti, meaning they were talking to me as a second person, saying the power of the moon flows through you, the power of the moon flows through you. And then at the end, when I went like this, and then I joined along in singing, I started singing, repeating the song of what they were saying. I said, at the end, I said, the power of the moon flows through me instead of you. And when I was getting ready to sing me, it flows through me, they changed their lyrics into you to me. Same time that I decided to say me, they said, power of the moon flows through me, they said. So, el poder de la luna viene dentro de mí, instead of viene dentro de ti. So it was cool. I'm like, whoa, how did they knew I was going to say me? Because I wanted to feel that, yes, it does come through me. The moon does flow through me. So that was really interesting that they said that just when I was preparing myself to say that. And so I just allowed that frequency to flow through me. And then so I discovered my connection with the moon. And I have a purpose with it. For some reason, I do carry its energy flows through my body for some reason. And I don't know if it chose me or something, but I felt a strong connection with the moon throughout the whole process of my ayahuasca 4 nights. I saw her outside the moon. I saw the moon outside for 4 nights and connected with her for 4 nights. So, but on the 3rd night, she wasn't as vivid because that was a pretty dark time for me, as I mentioned my story. But on the 4th night, it was very beautiful, very, very beautiful. I also had a little connection with her. But on the 3rd night, no, because it was about my purging experiences, about releasing that tremendous pain I had inside of me. So, which damaged my heart, because the next day it was very tender and very sore, and I was very, very, hurt. But anyways, I felt my connection with the moon that night, and I knew what it was. So, and I saw the realm. Oh, before I started connecting with that moon in that vision, I kept seeing the triple goddess symbol everywhere, triple goddess symbol with the 2 crescents in the center everywhere, like the vision, and then the full moon. So it was very, very crystal clear and very magical and very white. So that was beautiful. And so now I know my connection with it. It didn't give me too much detail of it, but it gave me enough to understand that my bond with the moon, that we were meant to be together. My bond is we're connected. It's meant to, because it's like a summoning. I am linked to her. So I understand more profoundly what that was. So then after that, I think I just gave myself a break and didn't really push myself anymore to get any more visuals or any more lessons, because that was already enough. And the shaman already, saved me from my own drowning. And I just kept looking at the candlelight and just relaxing. And I kept seeing other people's experience, and it was good. They played drums, and then it made people want to get up and dance. So it was like a trance where people, they start to stomp their feet really loud on the floor. Pa, 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 pa. So it's like, and then the drums. And so it made a lot of people go up and want to dance. And it was nice seeing that. But I wanted to kind of join, but I was too beat down. Like, I was like I'm in my bed, like I'm too wounded right now. I purged way too much, and I went through so much. So I was just beat down on the floor. But I got to see that nice experience. And then it was over after that, and that was the night. And I saw other people purging and everything, and stuff, and the night was over, and when the ceremony's over, they turn on the lights again, and then everybody's back to normal, and they all get up and they all gather together in the center where the shamans are, because the two shamans are sitting way in the back, sitting. They're all sitting. There's shamans spread it around the whole area in the corners, and then you go approach them if you need anything. But then at the end of the ceremony, everybody gathers in the center, and there's two shamans there, and everybody sits and listens to their wise teachings. And they said beautiful things that night. But I had strength to look and hear what the shamans were talking about, the two female shamans. And they're very wise. They were saying, you're now, you have taken the medicine, and it is inside of your body now. You now carry a higher frequency. You are not the same anymore. Your frequency has been elevated. My frequency has. I countered the Angelic Realm, and I was really sick because my frequency was such in a high state, because I went beyond, because I expanded into the cosmos. I became the cosmos and expanded. I was in a high state already. And I could see the Angelic Realm, but not fully reach it. I just see it there. So she said, so yeah, it made me really sick. I was so sick that time. So I was really disaster that night, because the frequency was so high. And then the shaman says, you guys are now elevated in a higher frequency. You will now, so it's like, now that you guys go home now, you guys will start eating more differently, more healthy. You guys will start eating foods that carry much more high vibrations. If you do want to eat meat, make sure it is, grass-fed, organic food. But now you will be more cautious of what you put into your body. She said, you guys are now carrying a high frequency. Mother Ayahuasca is now inside of your body. And now you must take care of your body and take care of the new frequency that we carry inside of us now. So she ended it like that, basically telling us that we're different now. We're not the same. Mother Ayahuasca, the medicine is inside of us now, and now every choice that we make in our life will depend on that, because now that we carry such a high frequency, everything's going to be different now when we go back into the real world and make different choices of what we eat. And it's interesting because every day that we take the medicine, I eat less and less and less. I'm starting to eat more liquids now. So we can't eat past 2 p.m. because we have to have an empty stomach for the medicine to kick in. And so now we basically have transformed ourselves. And that night I felt like it was it was a rebirth. It was like my birthday. I didn't feel the same anymore after going through all that trauma. But it was beautiful in the beginning. But then the second dose really, made me go through a lot of pain. And then I felt like it was my birthday. It was my birthday. And then to confirm that thought, somebody in the ceremony said, hey, it's this person's birthday today. Let's sing happy birthday to him. And then we started singing happy birthday. I don't know if it was a her or him. But then the whole ceremony started saying happy birthday. So I'm like, whoa. Just when I was thinking about that, like, they sang happy birthday. So I felt that was a confirmation, like, yes, October 31st is my new birthday. I am now birthed into a different being. And I am now in a higher state of frequency now. And now I have to make changes in my life. And it's funny because during the ceremony, I kept getting visions, and the songs kept telling me, it's your time now. It's your time now. It's time to be who you really are. It's your time. Wake up. It's your time. And I kept getting those messages on the third night of ceremony. And then the fact that I saw the angel saying, you're holy now, that kind of confirms everything too. So yeah, that's why I felt it was a rebirth. I got a rebirth. That's what I was intending in the beginning. I called for a rebirth, and this is what you go through to get the rebirth. And yeah, and that was my story. After the ceremony was over and the two shaman females finished talking, and gave us their wise wisdom of how to carry on in our work, in our life when we come back, because we're in a bubble here and we're transforming in this bubble in Rythmia, and our frequencies are shifting and we're interacting with the divine and with the shamans, and we're shifting. We're actually, the divine is touching us actually, um, and our frequencies are elevating in such a high level, and we're just opening up our channels and seeing things differently. Like, I got to see fragments. I got to cross over and see the dimension above us, and got to, eliminate my ego identity, which is actually not easy. It's a scary thing. And you got to feel how it was to expand and be more than the human. And that's scary, because you have to have a level of bravery to not fear death, because you do feel a sense of death in a way. So it's scary. But if you do cross that barrier, everything else is magical and beautiful. And you crossed over, and now you're vibrating at such a high frequency. And now how are you going to carry that frequency back home? Because your lifestyle back home, it's much more different. It's a low frequency back home. Everything is just more, it's not good for you. If it's like I've been cleansed, and I don't want to dirty myself again back. So that's the challenge for all of us right now, and that's what the shamans are saying, is you guys are cleansed now. You guys are in a high frequency right now. So that's the challenge. And how do we continue to do that, continue to live this practice as we go back into that world, right? So very wise. And she says, now we will be more cautious of what we put in our bodies, for sure. So everybody started leaving, and I just stayed in my bed. I couldn't get up. It's like I've been traumatized. It's such a painful situation. It's such a painful realization that I didn't want to go through. The medicine made me go through it and face that pain. My heart was aching. I was wounded, and I couldn't get up, and I just had to stay in the bed for a bit. My roommate came over, and she's super sweet and tried to check over on me and if I was okay and everything, and yeah, and then she left, and then two other women came that I got connected with, and I felt like, I think they wanted a hug, and so that helped me get up from my bed and hug them. And I felt like as I hugged them, I got their energy, and then I hugged the other women, and I hugged her, and I got my energy back, or else I would be in the bed the whole night, because it was just so painful. And there was such a deep level, engulfing, painful level of loneliness that I felt. I felt suddenly so alone in the world. And the other nights you don't feel like that. It depends what lesson the ayahuasca wants to teach you. Depends what she wants to throw out from inside of you. And I had that pain, tremendous painful feeling of loneliness inside of me that she forced out. So there I am. I got up and I started walking outside slowly, and then I see the full moon out there with the stars, and everybody had left, and I just look up in the stars and the moon. And I was there for, I think, for an hour, pretty much almost an hour, because I just felt so alone, and it's like I had to accept that we are all alone in this world. And I try to find comfort from something, even from someone who could not make me feel alone, because it's the what I purged out, that I was drowning in my own purging, that experience. The after effect of that made me feel super, super alone. And I just look up the stars, and that was my only comfort, was the comfort of the stars and the moon not making me feel alone anymore. And then I was just there, very like a defeated warrior, just staring up. And I was just there alone in the solitude of the night, looking up and engulfing in that loneliness. It's like, you know what? It's like we suppress all these things that we go through, and that the ayahuasca basically just nope, takes it all out. You're not allowed to keep it in. And then because it was all out, I had to dwell in those emotions a lot. I had to face those emotions, and I was facing that tremendous feeling of loneliness there. And I was feeling lonely. But I could see other people around me also engulfing in that loneliness, you know. And I tried to send a lot of love and care, you know, because there were still also people on the floor and in pain. And so I guess I was not the only one that went through this pain, you know. It's very painful. So I also gave that love and comfort to them, just as much as I received love and comfort from people I care, um, during the time I was purging. So it's like an exchange. I think love flows still. And I think the illusion of loneliness, I just said it, it's an illusion. The idea of loneliness is an illusion. And I think I learned that on the fourth night of the ceremony. But on the third night, I really was drowning and engulfing in that pain, the engulfing pain of loneliness. So it was harsh and painful, but necessary. But at the same time, it was beautiful and divine and expansive. So that was my night. That night finished off very kind of gloomy and depressing in a sense, but it was. I had to go through that. We all have our shadows, our shadow works to work on, and so that night I went to bed very exhausted and in pain, very wounded, because the next day I could feel my heart aching even more than how it was before. So my heart was definitely wounded. I feel like but I felt like she was working through my body too. I think they were doing surgery, like healing my heart. I felt like my heart got ripped, but then was sewed back, right? And that night was about to heal my heart. So still like in the process of it, it was because the next day when I woke up, it was very sore and aching. So it was like, you know, when you just come from out of surgery, your wound has has been cut open, sliced open, but it's been sewed back, and now it's kind of tender and sore. Well, that's how it felt like, for me. And then the next day, my friend that I met here called Teresa, she felt like giving me this glass. I think I have it here. She decided to give me this glass heart, and I decided to keep it with me the whole day because it felt like my heart was healed. And I had some like, and it has some these little scars, these little lines around the heart. They look like they're stitches. So it was like telling me, here, this is your heart. It's crystallized, it's cleansed now. There was wounds, there are scars there, but it's been healed. It's sewed up. So the whole day, I was holding it like that with me, and pressing it really hard because it, like protecting it, and because it was so tender and sore from the last night of the ceremony because of that all that pain I went through that night. And yeah, and so I was carrying this the whole day just to confirm that it's been healed now and that's cleansed, right? So I felt myself opening up little by little, but I couldn't talk much to people as much because I was still very hurt from the last night. My heart was still wounded, but it slowly got to get better after the fourth ceremony. So I felt like the fourth ceremony was like round 2 of the surgery. The fourth ceremony was beautiful. It was mostly based on healing, but I'll get to that. I'll explain the fourth night soon. But yeah, this was my experience on the third night. Every night is different because it depends on the shamans that you're dealing with as well, and depends on what intention you set forth that night, and you will get what you ask for. Basically, you will get, but you don't know if it's going to come in the way that you want it to. It's going to come in the way that she decides how it needs to be for your own good. So yeah, that's how it was. That was my third night of ceremony. My heart was healed, and Yeah, and then round 2 of the surgery happened the other night, but I'll get to that later. So, yeah, this was third night of ceremony.
Ábrete corazón, ábrete sentimiento, ábrete entendimiento, deja a un lado